Welcome to Lesson 70 of Course 2. In this lesson, we're going to learn about finding the volume of rectangular prisms. All right, so volume just means the amount of space a solid shape occupies. Volume is measured in cubic units. So in this case here, we've got a cube there, and its volume is 36 cubic units because there's 36 of these little squares inside here, each one being 1 cubic unit each. There's 36 of those. So the thing I want to point out here about volume is that it's the height times the base times the length, and we multiply those three together. So 3 times 3 times 4 equals 36. That's how we get that. And we'll look at a couple of ways of getting that. But the most important thing, when you write your 36 cubic units, that you cube it. 36 cubed, so it's might be inches cubed or feet cubed. Cubed. Volume's always cubed. Area's always squared. All right, so this rectangular prism was constructed of unit cubes. So its volume is how many cubes. So now you just need to identify how many cubes that this unit has. Well, you can take it one layer at a time. If you take this first layer right here, you can see that it's 3 by 4. So if we took that top off, you see that you've got 3 rows of 4, so that's going to be 12. All right, 3 times 4 is 12. So each layer is going to be 12. And how many layers do you have? You have 3 layers. So it's going to be 36 units, or 36 cubes. Right? The other way you could have done that is you can see that this is a 3, this is a 3, and this is a 4. 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 4 is 36. All right, so and that's what this is explaining. The volume's measured using a standard size cube. In this case here, it's 1, a cube of 1. So a volume of 1 cubic centimeter, or 1 cubic centimeter long. And so you're going to write it as centimeters cubed, or you can write it as feet cubed. And that's what this slide is telling us, is that when we calculate the volume of a solid, we can imagine constructing that solid out of a bunch of these little squares, and then how many squares those take, and that gives us what's called volume. So find the number of 1 centimeter cubes that can be placed inside a rectangular box with the dimensions shown here. So what it's asking you here is to figure out how many cubes would go into this. So the fastest way is just to do 3 times 5 times 4. So you got 15. 3 times 5 is 15 times 4 equals 60. That's the fastest way. The other way is that you can divide this up into 5s, right, and this here up into 3s, this here into 4s, keep those 3s going over and try to calculate it that way. You know, I don't know that I would do it that way. That's how they're doing it here, but the easiest way, so they're doing one layer, the bottom layer first, and 5 times 4 is 20, and then 3 layers make it 60. I just like doing 3 times 5 equals 15 times 4 equals 60. Make sure you cube it, centimeters cubed, and you're done. In this case here, you don't have to do centimeters cubed because it asks you for how many cubes there are, and there are 60 cubes is your answer. Okay? All right, so what's the volume of this cube? Go ahead, figure it out. Hopefully you took 4 times 4 equals 16 times 4 equals 64. And then it's the volume. Wants to know the volume, and it's in inches. So it's going to be inches what? Cubed. All right? It's kind of like area, right? It's just like area, except for we're doing the whole shape and not just the face. If we wanted area, we'd just do the face right here, and we know that would be 16. But we got to get the volume too. We got to get the depth of it. So we got to times that by 4, and it gives us a 64. All right, so here's one that's a little bit tougher. This one here, I do just like we do when we calculate an area. I would divide this up, and if I'm going to divide it up, I'm going to divide it up across the side here, right there. So now it's 8 long by how many? By 4. So that bottom section, that lower section, is going to be 8 times 4, which is going to equal 32. So we know we got 32 centimeters cubed on the bottom. Then the top, we've got 4 long, and then that's going to be half of 8, so it's going to be another 4. And then a thickness is going to be another 4. So what's 4 times 4? That's going to be 16. So 4 times 4 is going to be 16. Okay, that would be if we had just area. But we don't have just area. We've got to do our other measurement up also. So each one of these got to be by another 4. So we've got to remember to do all 3 of those. So it's not just 8 times 4. It's 8 times 4 times 4. 4 times 4 times 4. And that's going to get us to 192. So let's look at that again. So when we do that, all right, divide it in half. And so we got 8 times 4 is 32 times 4 is 128. It's right here. And then the top is going to be just 4 times 4 times 4, which is going to be the 64, which is going to make it 192 centimeters cubed. Okay? Just like we did with area, not too tough. That's it. That's the lesson. Just remember, you got to take all 3 into consideration. That's why you end up with the 3. That's why it's cubed. It's the height, the length, and the width, the depth. And when you add those 3 together, times those 3 together, that gives you the volume. So do 8, 10A and B, and 16A, B, and C. When you do 10A and B, remember to do, it's going to be on scientific notation, so you're going to be to the 8th power or to the -4 power. You're going to write it out when you submit your answers. Write down any questions you have, and we'll see you tomorrow in class. Thanks.